Imagine a world where sunlight never reaches, miles below the surface of the ocean. It's a place of darkness, isolation, and immense pressure, an environment that seems utterly inhospitable to life. How could anything possibly survive in such a space, let alone thrive? Well, welcome to the astonishing ecosystems of hydrothermal vents, or, as we like to say, underwater volcanoes. Are you ready to dive into one of the least explored terrains of our planet and uncover how life not only exists here but flourishes in a way that defies our traditional views of ecosystems? Let's go. First, let's paint the scene. Deep oceanic trenches, thousands of feet below the surface, are cold and dark. The water temperature here may drop to near freezing. Add to this crushing water pressure, you would experience forces over 1,000 times stronger than what we feel on land. Tethered to these conditions are hydrothermal vents, essentially volcanic structures on the seafloor, where seawater meets magma and is then heated to super high temperatures, spewing mineral-rich plumes into the ocean. Picture jets of boiling water rushing out of cracks in the ocean floor, creating streams of smoke that don't actually rise. Why? Because the intense pressure keeps them pinned down instead of wafting upwards. These boiling jets, or black smokers as scientists call them, seem like hellish openings that expel potentially toxic chemicals. Surprisingly, though, what you're looking at is life's version of a buffet. The chemicals emitted here, like hydrogen sulfide, are toxic to humans and most living organisms, but to certain microbes, they are pure nourishment. Life here has redefined survival strategies and written an entirely new biological playbook. Let me explain. Unlike on land and in shallow seas, where sunlight fuels life through photosynthesis, the hydrothermal vent ecosystems thrive in the absence of light. Instead, life here banks on a process called chemosynthesis. Instead of plants turning sunlight into energy, bacteria near these underwater vents convert chemicals, particularly sulfur compounds, into food and energy. Think of these bacteria as the unsung heroes, the tiny powerhouse organisms at the center of this entire ecosystem. These microbes set the foundation for all other life to flourish here. Mind-blowing, isn't it? But wait! It gets even wilder! Larger organisms like tube worms that can grow up to 8 feet long not only live among these vents but thrive. Curious what their secret is? Unlike us, tube worms have no mouths and no digestive systems. So how do they eat? They host symbiotic bacteria in their bodies that perform chemosynthesis and in return supply the tube worms with nutrients. A standing ovation for this teamwork. But tube worms aren't the only crew hunkered down here. Imagine crabs crawling over steaming rocky outcrops, shrimp clustered so thickly around vents they practically stack on top of each other, and even fantastical fish that look like they've leaped right out of an alien movie. Everything is adapted to an extreme life below. Crabs use the chemical-rich water to hunt, fish create specific proteins to handle the deep-sea pressures, and even shrimp boast light-detecting organs that seem to find faint thermal glimmers amidst total darkness. Speaking of darkness, wouldn't you assume predators are absent here where there's no visibility or hunting ground? Think again. Predators in these abyssal zones, like some hardy fish, use heat detection or other fine-tuned survival methods to outwit prey. In essence, nature, once again, has found a way. Here's a jaw-dropping fact. The exploration of these hydrothermal vent ecosystems has revolutionized our view of where and how life could unfold not just on Earth, but throughout our universe. These vents raise questions on whether underwater volcanoes could host similar microbe-fueled ecosystems elsewhere. Hello, astrobiology! Europa, Jupiter's moon, or Saturn's moon. Enceladus, for instance, have icy exteriors but are suspected to house oceans beneath their frozen crusts, where underwater volcanic activity might spark off its own alien versions of chemosynthesis. Imagine that. Now let's zoom back to Earth for a moment. Did you know scientists first stumbled across these vents just over 40 years ago? Before their discovery, it was thought that sunlight was vital to sustain ecosystems. Hydrothermal vents proved otherwise. If you were wondering, the first vent was discovered on the Galapagos Rift back in 1977. It completely rewrote humanity's rulebook about what conditions were necessary for life. Since then, some of the most sophisticated technologies, like remotely operated vehicles or ROVs, have studied these spots, bringing up new revelations year after year. Yet, there's a twist. These deep-sea hotspots aren't permanent. Hydrothermal vents can go dormant, sometimes extremely quickly. The lava chambers fueling them may lose energy, or other geological shifts might cut off the supply. That said, the creatures dependent on these vents face cycles of colonization, migration, or extinction. Imagine spending your entire life living on something that might just shut down, a volcano-powered town clocking out for good with little warning. Did you know there are also cold seep systems that operate similarly but don't require the same extreme heat? These too nurture unique communities often quite distinct from hydrothermal vent dwellers. The deep ocean is a treasure trove of surprises, constantly challenging current scientific understanding. And the more we discover about it, the deeper our questions become. As fascinating as it sounds, these discoveries come with a note of caution. Human activities like deep-sea mining could threaten these delicate ecosystems. We often marvel at what science uncovers, but forget how fragile these systems are. Protecting such ecosystems isn't just about preserving mystery, it's also tied to advancing knowledge about our planet and beyond. Here's something to leave you wondering. If creatures can thrive, cooperate, and innovate ways to survive at the very edge of life as we know it, what other undiscovered mysteries does the ocean hold? These depths serve as a reminder of the unknown and hint at just how creative life can get in the face of adversity. If microbes, worms, and shrimp can battle boiling waters and thrive, there's no telling what other surprises might await in the rolling blue frontier. So next time you gaze out at the horizon of the oceans, remember, far below, there's a bustling society we can barely comprehend, adapting and thriving in a world we're only beginning to scratch the surface of. And together, vent by vent, abyss to abyss, humanity is unveiling one of Earth's last great mysteries. Imagine what stories remain untold.